Hey there, Banditos. Welcome to the Friday episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits. I'm Mike Farah, and today we have an up-and-comer for you. His name is Sam Fonseca, and he's a Brazilian creator, writer, artist. He has a brand new workout called Shadowplay Midnight School, and this is the first of what I believe will be a trilogy. It is fantastic. It is kind of a nightmare of a book in terms of its content, but also just very vibrant in the emotions and in the rendering. And it's got a great story too. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming out, or rather, is out from Top Shelf. So definitely pick that up. But you may also know Sam as the musician behind our new theme music. So if you like it, and I don't know how you can't, please help us thank Sam Fonseca for his contributions. He really knocked it out of the park. But let's get to his story. This is Sam Fonseca. Sam Fonseca to the program. Sam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, Mike. Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you. Want to dig in deep to your previous work, but definitely want to get to what I've shown before because I've purchased it and read it. Shadowplay
Wow,
Midnight School. It is
cool.
a big book and a lot of ideas and beautifully executed. So let's hit the rewind button though for now and ask you our, typical, our usual first question, which is how did you first discover comics?
Uh, um, Living in Brazil, and if you live in Brazil, I guess, uh, especially if you grew up on the 90s, 80s, and 90s, there's no way the first comic you will ever encounter be any other than a comic called Turma da Mônica, which Monica's Gang. And how can I explain Monica's Gang? It is something kind of, it's kind of like Peanuts, a mix between Peanuts and Little Lulu. No,
Okay.
Little Lulu. There's these kids that play on the street. Each and every one of them have their a very strong personality. This one likes to make pranks. This one doesn't like to take bets. The smart one, and and Turma da Mônica is so huge in Brazil, especially Turma da Mônica started, I guess, in comic strips too in the 60s, and they became a comic book magazine, I guess, on the 70s. And since then, I guess there's no way you go. Let's say you go do some gross, oops, groceries, and there's no way you did not encounter at least a product with the Turma da Mônica characters on the packages. Um, Noodles, instant noodles, shampoos, this kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure the first comic book I encountered was Turma da Mônica comic. In the 90s, I'm a child of the 90s. Growing, growing up in the 90s, parents used it to give the kids the Turma da Mônica comics because the words are really easy to understand. So it would help the kid learn how to read. So yeah, I'm sure that Turma da Mônica was the comic, but it wasn't the comic that made me want to become a comic book artist. That would come later. Yeah.
Well, let's flow right into that. What so from Terma Demonica, gave you your first exposure to
Yeah.
comics, but what really kind of kickstarted your interest in making comics?
Yeah. And the thing is, as I said, I grew up in the 90s. And at this time, uh, there's of course there was comics, but let's say Spider-Man or the Avengers, and so on. There's also lots of other products uh, featuring the Spider-Man, and I'm pretty sure I played the video game, the Sega Genesis Spider-Man video game, even after I read a comic, a Spider-Man comic, and there's there's lots of so I knew Spider-Man, I knew Superman, but not from the comics, which is I guess it's common in the 90s, especially, but and I would grow to love this kind of characters, Spider-Man, X-Men, especially in the 90s because of the cartoon. Um, but the thing is, and here in Brazil, we also got the Marvel and DC on the newsstands, especially mainly actually, and I always liked to draw. My father, he wasn't an artist, but he there's a time in his life he studied art, and he had this huge briefcase full of drawings that he made on when he was on his 20s, I guess. And I marveled at the works my father did, and he always incentivized me to pursue the cause. I guess I don't know if he wanted to become an artist. I cannot say. I actually never asked him this, but I always brought me some papers, some pencils, and I always drew. I always like to draw, but and and at this time when I was passing alongside newsstands, the comic books, the Marvel, especially the Marvel comic books, caught my attention. The covers and everything, but as and that happened to Madame Monica too. I saw this comic books like objects, and I didn't. I never thought, wow, a human did this. Especially the Marvel and the Marvel ones and the DC ones, the superhero ones. I don't know, because of the colors, the line. I didn't. I had no idea how a human could do this. For instance, I have my colored pencils, my crayons. I could not paint like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The colors would never be like the ones printed. So is this made by a computer? Is how they made this kind of marks? So I always saw that like something that uh, is an object that always were like that. I don't know if can I
Yeah,
can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. So and so, but that this it has changed when in Brazil uh, this TV network they bought some animes
Hmm.
animes. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It is kind of a long story, but I guess you will understand. This network bought lots of animes from Japan, and it was a fever here in Brazil. There's this anime called Saint Seiya, Knights of Zodiac, and it changed. If you grew up in the 90s in Brazil, there's no way you don't know Knights of Zodiac. It was that huge. And after that, Saint Seiya, that's there's this other because they saw how huge was this anime thing here. The kids love it. They started to bring more and more anime in the public network actually. And this other comic, this other anime called Yu Yu Hakusho, also from the well, this Yu Yu Hakusho comic anime, and I fell in love with that. And at the time, alongside with the animes airing in the television, the I guess some publishers, small publishers, started to publish these magazines that they would feature some next episodes, some things that will happen that already happened in Japan regarding these animes, and lots of still frames from the animes that seasons that we next seasons from these animes. And but there's this magazine that I bought that featured this Yu Yu Hakusho anime, and but instead of the still frames from the anime to illustrate the the, the article were talking, and usually was an article just saying some very simple things. The thing was they really sold out those kinds of magazines because the kids wanted to know more about the anime. Oh, what will happen in the next season? But this article, they featured not still frames from the next seasons of the anime, but they featured some black and white comics from the anime. I didn't know what it was about at the time, but reading, I learned that an anime came usually from manga, and usually there's a single person responsible to came up with the story, art. Of course, I didn't know about assistants, editors, all this kind of stuff because producing a manga is inhuman, actually. But reading that, I was astonished because I started to think, wait, this is a black and white comic, and suddenly everything seemed much more approachable because I don't know how to do this kind of colors from Spider-Man or Batman, but this is black and white. So a guy came up with everything. One person can come up with every this world, this kind of stuff. And since then, I wanted to do that. So I started to not create lots of characters, making comics, folding paper in half, staple it. So yeah, that was the calling. Oh, I can do this kind of stuff because at the time I just had pencil and paper, that which is black and white, right? Black pencil or white paper. Yeah, I can do this too. Sure. So that was the start of it all.
Yeah, so the inspiration came from anime and manga, and
Yeah.
specifically this sort of do-it-yourself kind of ethos from manga, which I've been reading with my kid a lot. She's into more of the manga, and it is amazing what one person could get done
Yeah,
in
and
black and
it's
white.
yeah, in talking about black and white, it is kind of similar with Eastern and Laird did with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This kind of attitude of let's do it, and of course, and yeah, but the success of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was so huge that lots of people thought the same thing about black and whites, I can do this too. There's just movements in the 86, right? 86, 87. That I'm sure, I don't know, I'm pretty sure because there's lots of copycats of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at that time, right? But yeah, they inspired so much, and the thing you must have is an idea, a paper and pencil. That's fine. That's you can do. I did Shadowplay with mostly using paper, pencil, and and that's it, and some computer finishing. But it is pencil and paper, almost 85% of the book. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. So let's work our way up to it. And you're saying that you started with these mini comics, or zines as we call them sometimes that you put together
Yeah.
yourself. Were there publishers, like comic book specific publishers in Brazil that you wanted to, get start to work with, that you were kind of shooting towards, or did you always want to kind of do it yourself and figure it out later?
Yeah, and Mike, these comics I mentioned about wasn't even mini comics. It was very kids stuff. I started some new character at a particular week, and the fuel would end by the end of the week, and so I forgot about the comics, and rarely I would finish um, a complete story. But no, after that I wanted to. So yes, I can become a comic book artist. At the time, in the 90s, the the publishers here in Brazil, they mainly published things that came outside. Um, for instance, there's this Editora Abril, which is Abril Publishing. They would bring DC, Marvel. The single publisher would publish a DC, Marvel, and Image, um, later mangas. It's a huge umbrella. But at the time, there's I guess there's no, at least no very famous publisher that, oh, this is a pathway to become a comic book artist. No, nowadays, yes, there's lots of small publishers, medium publishers that publish Brazilian stuff, very cool publishing houses. But at the time, no. At the time, if you could draw and you aspire to be a comic book artist, the thing you had to show your portfolio to DC or Marvel. Every, there's lots of kids that wanted this, and that and a very important thing that happened, uh, very important pathway, step in this path was attending to this school called Quanta Academia de Artes, Quanta Art Academy. I guess you could say it is something like the what's the name of the school in the United
Hubert
States?
School?
The Kubert School. Yes, but it was free courses. It was the schedule were very much streamlined. But I guess there's some link between the Cupboard School, I guess, and the Quanta Academy Art Academy, because I guess the there's at least a teacher in the Cupboard School, the Cariello, I forgot that is a Brazilian that teached there, and he has a brother that teach in the Art Academy too. So I guess there's some link. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But uh, so no, in this art academy, who started this academy was the first Brazilian that worked to Marvel Comics, called Marcelo Campos, the name of the artist. He founded the art academy alongside some friends. The art academy exists to this day, and I went there in my, I guess, 18. I was 18 years old, I guess, and what you would want to, what were your goal to go and to went to Quanta Art Academy? You would want to make a portfolio, and that would caught attention of the teachers, and they would show the portfolio for these agencies. I guess the name was Art Comics, and they would show the portfolio to Marvel or DC Image, and so you could enter the comic book market. However, for me, that, of course, if that um, happened, I would be happy to draw, I don't know, Spider-Man. But the thing was, uh, of course, I will not say that would not never wanted to draw Spider-Man, a story Spider-Man or X-Men, but I always want to create my own characters, my own stories, worlds, and that was the thing that distanced me from my colleagues in the Quant Art Academy. They would find very strange to, but why your drawing is very cool. Why you don't you send your portfolio to Marvel DC? And I never sent my portfolio to any of the the big five, big five, and big two. And yeah, so but lots of people that attend to Quanta became pencilers, uh, inkers, and colorists for Marvel or DC. Yeah. What was the question? I'm sorry, Mike.
No, no, you're sort of making your way through how you were influenced or
Oh,
taking
okay.
your influences and then, making your way towards the
Oh yeah,
ultimate
yeah.
career you wanted to be in and how that all formulated.
Oh yeah,
So,
and there's this thing in Quanta, in the Art Academy, that they called Quantum. Quantum was website that they did that would feature some creations from teachers and students from the uh, from the art academy, and I created these two characters called Dynamite and Laser Beam. They were two cats. Dynamite were this cool cat. They used fedora hat, some a bow tie, no, a tie, and he was pretty much Tex Avery, Hanna Barbera um, cartoon cat, and his friend were Laserbeam, which were high tech anime cat. So the two cats attended this superhero school, and it that's where after no before no after after I'm sorry, I mix up after and before. Before My Hero Academia were in 2004, I guess, 2006, and these characters, they caught attention of this huge Brazilian. How can I explain this? It was kind of American Line, and was this portal at the time, which news, email, this kind of web portal
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this. Uh, and
that makes
in
sense.
Brazil, there's this other one called UO. It was Universal Line. It was just like American Line, and they saw this Dynamite and Laser Beam, and they bought the rights to feature them in the web portal. So yes, that was my first. I I don't know. Well, my my first step towards the publish a book, let's say.
Yeah.
And and actually, I published here an album of Dynamite and Laserbeam, only in Portuguese. And there's lots of, at the time, I guess, wherever I would post new strip, that cause the format were like Sunday strip,
Hmm.
a page, a colored page, um, with a joke, a gag at the end, and whatever I would post um, a new page, a new strip, it would be 10,000 views at the time, which were huge. It's huge today, I guess. But yeah, at the
Yeah.
time, every time I posted, yeah, and people really liked Dynamite Laser Beam. Yeah, I want to revisit these characters. I stopped drawing them a long time ago, but I always wanted to revisit these guys. Yeah,
How long
that
did you
that
work on them initially?
I guess 2004 and to 2012. 2012, published this not a graphic novel. It was one
The
shot.
collection.
Yeah,
Was it a
no,
collection? No, it was
no.
something
It
new.
was Dynamite and Laser Beam Zero. It was how
Okay.
the characters know each other. Yeah. From 2004 to 2012. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, it's a long commitment.
Yeah,
Um, so
it's
yeah,
cool.
I'm sure you have more stories for them at some point in time.
Yeah, yes.
One more project I wanted to ask about before we get to Shadowplay is uh, Age of Rust,
Oh, yeah.
which is a comic that, from what I can tell, was nominated for HQMix prize three
Yeah, yeah,
times. Um,
yeah,
I was unable, unfortunately, to find a lot about it though
yeah.
online. I guess I'm not looking in the right places. Can you tell me what it was about and
Yes,
where the story
of
came
course.
from?
And Mike, you would never, if you found something about Age of Rust online, I would be very surprised because Age of Rust was a project, a web comic I did after Dynamite and Laserbeam, and that went from 2012 till 2015, I guess. Yeah, and that I after I did Dynamite and Laser Beam, which were very for kids. Of I guess you can say it were mainly aimed at kids
Mhm.
and aimed at kids. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, lighthearted, right?
Yeah, 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 and
Aimed at kids. That's fine.
yeah, that's weird. And after that, I wanted to do something more mature, let's say. And I did this. It is was a story, and there's some things that similar to Shadowplay, in a way. Some weird stuff happening to this guy. Not that weird, but some weird stuff. At that time, I started to watch lots of um, some David Fincher movies, some like let's say Seven, this kind of stuff, and I wanted to do something similar. And I started to post a page, 2 pages a week, I guess, with with no not much preparing, not much. There were some preparing, but not that much. I would say that I needed prep to prepare it more, but I started to post these pages, and it started to gain momentum. So lots of people started to, and at the time there were the social media weren't nothing what they are today. Every artist had their blog. They posted on blogs. It wasn't centralized. Everybody posts on Instagram nowadays or something. Everybody had the blogs, or mainly blogs, but Blogspot, blog, and and much like Dynamite and Laser Beam, people started to know Age of Rust, and it started to become not famous, but people w- not as much as Dynamite and Laser Beam. When I mentioned that every time I posted a page, 10,000 views, but because Age of Rust, there's not there wasn't this web portal behind it. It
Right.
was just my my blog at the time. But the word of mouth, people started to to appear, and it became something huge, quote unquote. But
You got some
yeah,
buzz,
yeah,
as we
got some
say.
buzz, and yes, exactly, and lots of. I'm sorry, I remembered an email I received that made me very worried about a fan, and that wrote something along the lines that they um, 2 emails actually, that they understood the character, which were a very troubled character, and they would he was seeing some stuff, some apparitions and this kind of stuff. But there's this kind of stuff in Shadowplay too, but it was different because the world of Asia for us were our world, very much. The guy would uh, have dinner with their friends, his friends, and and yeah, and but this Asia for us thing, I like it to work on this title, but at the end of the title and the story, I guess I made some mistakes. I tried to switch the website, the pages, everything I had on the website. I tried to how is the name? What's the name of it? To migrate
Migrate,
exactly,
transfer, yeah.
transfer to another provider, and I ended up losing lots of
Uh,
pages, lots of stuff, and that's why I've lost lots of material of Age of Rust that I don't have in other places. So yeah, I have the beginning of the story, but I don't have some pages of the middle and the end. I lost everything. So yeah, that's the reason. It was very irresponsible of my part at the time to don't make not make some. Nowadays I have copies on the cloud, on two drives, and lots of things. But at that time, yeah, I didn't. I lost everything.
Oh, terrible to hear, but so let's move on to happier
Happy
pastures and start talking about Shadowplay Midnight School.
not that happy.
You're
Not.
not that happy in material, but happy that you didn't lose anything. It's come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been the critical acclaim has been gathering, and um, I want to say that you can summarize yourself, but it centers around a school that plays host to like mass recurring nightmares and these apparitions or monsters in the form of the teachers and administrators. um,
Yeah.
and there's some central mystery about how to expose this and escape from what seems to be sort of a trap that the students are in. So basic first question is, where did this idea come from? I mean, I can tell you that my almost all of my bad dreams or nightmares come from school.
Oh,
I'm back
yeah.
at school. Usually
Yeah.
I'm in university,
Yeah.
but sometimes high school as well. So I know where that kind of thing comes from. But yeah, how did this
Exactly.
all come about?
Mike, you're right, cause the idea of shadow play came from a recurring dream. Too. I had this recurring dream that I were back at the school, and very similar. I'm dreaming black and white. Every every dream I have in black and white. You dream in black and white too? I
Um, I never really think about whether it's black and white or color. I just remember the experiences. Next time I have
yeah.
a good dream, I'll try to remember if it's
Okay.
black and white or not.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing, and it always goes like this. I'm back at school, in high school, and for some reason, they, I don't know, the teacher or someone at the school discovered that actually I did not pass in math. I did not. I would have to do the year again. That was the where the idea come from. Of course, what I wanted to do with Shadowplay, uh, is, firstly, is where I wanted to do an horror adventure. That's it. I wanted to do some. I always wanted to mix some elements of, I don't know, David Lynch movies, some surreal stuff with manga, some manga adventures, shonen adventure. Let's say, you know, like Yu Yu Hakusho. I mentioned, shonen manga, Mike.
Hmm.
This manga aimed at kids, mainly boys, that had adventures, fights, and this kind of stuff. I wanted to do this kind of stuff, but when I were thinking about what I wanted to do, this kinds of more serious matters started to um, I started thinking about why did I always dream about this. I have this recurrent dream. I'm at school, and the thing is, was I were when I were at the high school, I had lots of trouble learning some stuff. Some, of course, lots of kids are like this, but especially math or um, math or this uh, the realm of is exact. Is it, you say in English
Right.
they say exacts like math.
Analytics
Uh, uh,
or yeah, something
um,
like that, or science or physics or
yeah, physics and this kind of stuff. Um, yeah, and I felt horrible. Wow, I can't, I just can't learn this kind of stuff. I and lots of people felt the same, and I started to think about, of course. And look, I'm not against education. Much on the contrary, I'm very pro education. But there's lots of things in education that, yeah, I guess could improve. Mainly at this kind of this, and that's of course it's one of the aspects I wanted to put on the this first. It's not the main thing of the story, the main mystery, but I wanted to put something along these lines because this character, he obviously has some learning problems, and it is school for him, uh, especially as it is a poor school. He is a his family. You if you read, is from a poor neighborhood, and it is a kind of a nightmare if you have a difficult a difficult in learning, and you have to go to school, and the school don't have the means to be don't have the funds to give a proper education. There's lots of things that have, of course, this kind of things are hints here and there. The Don't worry, the main aim, the main goal for me at least, were to do horror adventure that would span in a series of books. But yes, this kind of stuff I wanted to at least dab here and there, because I wasn't thinking about the stuff when the main idea came. But of course, the creative process, you started to think about stuff, and you suddenly you you realize, yes, I'm doing this stuff because of that stuff. I don't know if I make myself clear. I don't know, but
yeah, I get it.
um, so yes, in the process of shadow play, lots of things started to almost almost therapeutically. I started to yes, that's why I did this. That's why I did that. But the main but shadow play, I prepared all the story, the first book and the next ones. There's a central mystery. There are things that will happen that I know since the beginning. I know the ending since the I started with the ending actually. Uh, and yes, but it is funny how you started to find some meanings on your own work sometimes. And yes, the it's kind of social problems started to come to the surface very quickly, and when I started to to make shadow play, but that. that's the that's the thing. I really like David Lynch. Let's, for example, and he said something about this sometimes when he was filming stuff, and at the time he doesn't know exactly why he started. He wanted to find the meaning during the day of filming, and yes, and I believe in that because you really start to look sometimes at yourself and when you are doing what you are doing. And the thing is, in my opinion, I guess you want to be firm on your what you want to say, what you want to. For instance, you there's lots of weird things on Shadowplay,
Hmm.
but aren't weird things just because they are weird. You have to have um in in English, what's the
Sort of like symbolic.
a purpose? Yeah, you
Yeah. Okay.
there's a purpose why this thing is appearing, why I'm making this weird stuff happen at this time. There's a purpose, and I guess Dave Leach said you can't make some stuff just for shock value or
Right.
WTF value,
Yeah.
but you have to be sincere. There's a purpose for everything you are doing. The, of course, the um, how the reader will interpret that stuff is up to them. Because I also believe in the death of author. When the reader are reading everything, if he sees that thing like that or this, he's right. But yeah, I'm sorry. I
No, that's
I talked
okay.
too
So, well, you talked about a lot of things that I wanted to kind of dig deeper into, but
Okay, okay.
primarily, you're a writer artist, and this is a fairly large and in-depth work. I wonder if you are starting. I mean, do you lay out you said you had the ending in mind. Do you lay
Yeah.
out the entire story for yourself in some sort of script, or are you starting with these visuals and then trying to figure out how they fit into a narrative?
Cool. For this first book, it were the visuals were uh, more important. I started doing some very rudimentary thumbnails, some storyboards, and yeah, I put when I had all the thumbnails, I would came back and um, write the dialogues and kind of write. I would write the dialogues, but for this second book, I'm working on the the next installment on Shadowplay. I wrote beforehand everything. I wrote the dialogues because the thing is, in this first book, the dialogues weren't that important in my mind because not important. The thing I wanted to say were the it would I'm on spoiler territory, so I'm sorry, but spoilers.
Spoiler alert, everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop listening if you haven't read the book. Or come back. Don't stop
Yeah,
listening
yeah, yeah,
altogether.
yeah. The thing is, this this first book, the kids, um, and also the teachers, the dialogue, in, at least in my opinion, as I see it, is like a dream, because they talk in a way that in a dream, for instance, if you have a dialogue with someone, if you wake up and you started to think about the dialogue, and everything feels weird, feels like it makes sense at the time, but when you are awake, it doesn't make that's it. You would not talk like that. I don't know if you would talk more more naturally. So in the second book, the dialogue is very important. I will not give much details, but the dialogue is more important. The exchanges of with the characters, um, and this next volume, I'm doing first the script, first the dialogues, and after the thumbnails and the visuals. Yeah, I
Mm.
change it.
Oh, that'll keep everybody on their toes, I think.
I hopefully, yeah.
I wanted to ask about two things, and they may be related or maybe not, so we can do it one after another. But one is color, right? So this
Mm,
is primarily a black and white or grayscale book, but there are certain chapters where there are, either specific pops of color or there's at least one where there's, a rainbow of
yeah,
colors. And the other thing I wanted to ask about is music, because that's obviously a big part of, your creative influence and also plays a role in the book. But
yeah.
if we start with color, how did you know, or did you know while you were working on it, where you would start to introduce color and how you would do that?
Yeah. Um, spoiler. There's spoilers all the way.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, no. The the choice to where I would make the page in color or not, it is because of the character, the main character. The main character have this condition called synesthesia. Uh,
Mhm.
is that right in English?
It sounds right. I think I know where you're
Yeah,
going with this. Yeah.
synesthesia. Yeah,
Yeah.
synesthesia is, let's say, I can, let's, there's this, it is in the book. The character can uh, see the colors of sounds of
Right.
musical notes.
Yeah. Visualize. Yeah.
Yeah, and that in that really exists. Of course, the synesthesia is different for each and every person that has it. I don't have it, but I find it fascinating. Some people can, oh, it's C sharp, oh, orange. I see people see the and that's scientific. They made lots of studies on synesthesia. Some people hear some musical notes and smells scent of, I don't know, something. And there's this. I guess it is not a confusion. The brain. I don't know if the synapses. I don't know what happened there, but they feel something with sounds, sometimes emotions. So this character, let's say, if he felt some um, strong emotions, um, that I would use some kind of color, some kind of. But I used these colors in the book. I used especially mainly on some weird dream. dream scenarios. But yeah, that's why I wanted to, when he felt some very strong emotions, I would use colors. Ju- it's simple. It's only that.
Yeah.
Only that. Yeah.
No, it's another tool in your arsenal, right? Like you
Yeah.
have words, you have the drawings themselves, and then color can play a really great role in sort of emphasizing, like you said, the character's emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about music? Where,
Mm,
what is your relationship to music? I don't know if you're a musician yourself, but it seems to come through and in your, the bio, when I read your bio, it says
yeah.
you have a strange hobby of creating soundtracks for your comics. So I'd love to
Uh,
know how that comes about, especially
yeah.
with Shadowplay.
Yeah. It, music is a hobby, first and foremost. I love music, but it came, I guess, thinking about it now, it came from anime, actually, because anime was huge. It was impact not only for me, but the youth in the 90s here in Brazil. And the music in anime is very important. There's I dab with this in the book too, but this these scenes of fights, scenes of the hero overcoming their difficulties. There's this awesome music that would in a crescendo, and the thing is, when I started to when I realized that anime came from manga, and I started to draw my comics, every time I was drawing, I was making the music in my in my head. Oh, because for me that was were the way to, let's say I'm making this ninja character, ninja on rollerblades. It was a thing. uh, um, so yeah, I'm doing the story. He lives there, but what is his musical theme? That were important for me. So I started to dun, 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 or whatever, and I started to, and it became almost with every comic I I made. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm embarrassed about about stuff a little bit, but every character I did, I made the theme, the this kind of stuff. And with Shadowplay, it was no different. I started to draw and yeah, okay, this music. Not only because you see in Shadowplay, I if it were an animation or something like that, I would imagine everything without music. I would imagine, let's say, like a David Lynch movie. There's always this drone sound. I don't know if you this very it is you feel some kind of I don't feel very well. I don't know, but there's this drone and some industrial noise, some kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And when the things are more happy, let's say, yeah, the music would come through. So I and the character, of course, that thing where I put this kind of crazy stuff of music stuff in the character. Yes, this is very very much this aspect of myself is inserted on the character 100%. But but I'm very other stuff, of course, came from friends, some other aspects, some very close members of my family, some stories that happened to them. And yeah, of course, every character is an amalgamation of experiences. Um, but coming back to music, that music is very important for me. And I don't know if you noticed, Mike, but I put in the last page of the book, there's a QR code. So
Yeah.
yeah, I ended up, because when I were drawing the pages, I would hum a melody. This melody is cool. I would record in the cell phone, and later on I would, because I like to. It is a hobby. It is embarrassing, but I like to record everything, the music, the music ideas. So I made a quote unquote soundtrack for the graphic novel, but it isn't really a soundtrack. But for lack of better name, I put soundtrack. Okay, but there's some ideas, some things I thought, I guess this character would. Um, uh, that is the the character watched this anime on he's a fan of this
Right.
anime on called Arcadia, and this is the opening of Arcadia. Though I recorded, I sung the music, and there's on the music platforms and every music streaming platforms, like just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm going to scan that after. I noticed that there was a QR code, but I did not actually scan it. So, and the theme from Arcadia, the
Yeah.
opening title, musical theme plays a big role in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'd love to hear if what you came up with is the same that's sort of like in my imagination or in reader's imagination. So it's
Cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so just a couple more questions, and then I want to move on to, how this is expanding into books two and three. But
Okay.
um, there are interesting, relationships between the students themselves, but also between the students and the faculty and administrators who are sort of monsters or what have you. How much of that and the relationships there was informed by your own experience at school, or was it really more just kind of a nightmare version, like what you're
Mm.
experiencing in your dreams, rather than, what you had experienced in real life?
Yes. There's lots of real stuff there, Mike. First of all, the high school is my real high school that I went to here in Brazil. And the things that and it was a very poor high school. And in that intersect with what we're talking about earlier, cause it broke my heart, cause you some let's say some colleagues on the school, some of them they went to school just for eat. It would be the only meal they would have on an entire day, and this kind of stuff. Uh, wow, this school is have no money. That there's no uh, no
Funding, yeah,
funding.
funding.
Yeah, and they start to think like this kind of stuff. But what I I lost my train of thought. Um,
Your experiences there.
yeah, this experiences the thing. I think I was concerned actually about if, of course, the Shadowplay were was released first on the United States and I guess United States, Europe, I don't know, but I would thought about, I wonder if the American reader would understand this kind of stuff. This wow, this public schools having no means to offer a better education for the children, and I started to and that while I was drawing, I started to research some some cases, and yes, I found so much parallels, so much. Unfortunately, it's very. Uh, I found this case on I guess Philadelphia, and the the school were so similar, so similar.
Mm,
Actually, almost I was shocked because, of course, here in Brazil, we uh, just like I'm sure, just like the American people, we are surrounded by things made in the United States, movies and everything, and this kind of this kind of high school movies. The high schools are always
yeah,
so colorful. So
yeah,
there's this, and there's the jocks, there's the nerds, the cheerleaders, and now oh, this is a for at least when you watch this kind of movies. Oh, this kind of this time on the life of an American is so important, and it's a this rite of passage from the high school to the adult world. And now it's so culminating on the prom night, and there's nothing like that on the public schools in Brazil. On the in the private schools, probably because yeah, the but on in the public schools, wow, some public schools. Actually, I have a friend that worked on the public schools as a teacher, and th- there's a rank on the schools by the level of the danger. If the schools is more dangerous, you would earn more. So yes, I've seen lots of real nightmarish stuff. Yes, it's out
yeah.
there. Yeah,
That's unfortunately, like you say,
yeah,
very applicable to a lot of schools and a lot of areas in the US as well. You know,
yeah,
what
and
what you see in Hollywood is not indicative of what's, on the ground, as
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, um
Unfortunately, yes.
yeah. So as you referred to a couple times, this is not the end
No, no.
of this project. It's I think envisioned as a trilogy, as three books, and you're already
Yes.
working on the second one. Um, what is kind of what is this timeline that you're working with in terms of getting these books done? I mean, I don't want to pressure you. I want you to
Uh,
obviously produce good work, but what are you? How are you looking to get these books out?
at Top Shelf, they don't pressure me either.
Good.
The it's probably my editor Chris being awesome. I He was actually he. I can say he was a kind of hero because I always wanted to publish a graphic novel, and he saw the potential of the story. He knows more, almost all the story too. And but I had this unfortunately or fortunately, I have this mangaka, um, the the mangaka, that the guy who makes manga.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
mentality of I like to do things, at least the drawing process. I like to do it fast. So where I'm at now, I already wrote everything. Of course, I'm always polishing some things there, here and there, uh, and that's the first time I really wrote word for word something um, before I started to draw, and I guess some things that I really liked on the experience. I especially on dialogue. I loved to write the dialogue first because it's really necessary in my view point of view in the second installment. But I'm at I'm at the point I just have to draw, and I actually draw really fast. So I wanted to end by next year. I guess I everything would be finished. But of course, I have to show to my editor if everything is okay. But yes, I guess I'm really anxious. I like to see the thing done. So I'm really anxious to finish this book. That oh I think the story will present itself because Shadowplay it is a closed story, um, but I think with the second one the readers will, in my opinion, will really think, oh, I see now, I see where this is going, and I really happy with the story at this point. Where the page I'm doing now, I was very happy to finish it. It was a really cool scene, but I can't show to anyone yet. Yeah,
I'm very glad to hear you say that, and I'm glad you're, putting so much work
yeah,
into the next book. A question that just came up is it more difficult to work on the middle chapter of something because the first book has the advantage of setting things up. You have a lot to sort of put into motion, and the third part is obviously you're drawing to a conclusion. So there's a goal in mind. But the second part is that bridge, right? Where it doesn't
yes,
really have the beginning, it doesn't have the end. It's really kind of, crescendoing, of course. But
yeah.
do you find difficulty in that?
Actually, and yes, you're right. Lots of people will say that the middle is where you can ring ring everything because it can be very slow. It can't be slow or have too much stuff. Because yes, in the middle, usually in the more traditional form of structuring your story, in the middle you would want to explain more stuff. You would more exposition, this kind of stuff. But I don't know, in this in the case of Shadowplay, I found it more easy because I can't say why, but there's I if you read the first book, you will be very surprised on one aspect of the second one, and I don't know how can I explain this, but it was for me being the weird part, super weird, where I'm sure some people that will start read Shadowplay will not understand what is happening until the end. But in the second, I guess the people will that read the first book are expecting some weirdness already, but I don't know. For me, Mike, it was at the time. I can say it has been easier. I don't know how to explain this, but it's easier, and yeah. How can I don't know
It's
how
no, it's
can
okay. If it's
yeah, it
easier, it's
is
easier.
easier.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Glad to hear it. So I imagine I know the answer to this question, and the question um, is there anything else other than Shadowplay that you're working on? I think you're probably, heads down and getting the second book and then on to the third book, but uh, just in case, I'll put it out there if you have anything else that's going on that you want anybody to know about.
Yeah, I have two things. I have another book going on. I'm just illustrating this one.
Okay.
Um, a pretty cool story. I cannot talk about the story yet, but pretty cool script um, from a first timer too. Awesome idea. Awesome. I'm sure people will love it. And the second is simpler. I'm doing some comic strips on my Instagram about this cat called Kaunas Bonbon. It's a ridiculous name. I love cats. It is this idea came from watching my cats. You have cats too, right, Mike?
Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
couple.
and my I have this cat. She was looking at the the ceiling. Ceiling is up, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Ceiling's
yeah,
up, floor's down.
yes. Yeah, okay, okay. The ceiling and it's funny because my wife said, "Ah, looks like she's watching, seeing some ghosts, some stuff." And I'm very skeptical. I always answer things like, "No, she's just hearing some insects, some things. They cats, um, they hear things." Their audition is way more developed than the human. But and the idea came, oh, okay, this cat Countess Bonbon, she really sees demons and ghosts and stuff. And I started to play around with the idea, and I started to put some strips on the Instagram. It's have been very fun. Yeah, this I'm working on this stuff right now. Shadowplay 2, this mystery project, and the Countess Bonbon.
And we're back. Really enjoyed talking to Sam. As you can tell, English is his second language, but I think he really got a lot of great points across about his early career, Dynamite and Laser Beam, Age of Rust, webcomics, and then really now putting all of his efforts into Shadowplay. And can't wait to see where that series goes. Can't wait for the second and then the third books. So that's going to be great. And you'll be hearing Sam's creation every time you open this podcast. So thank you again, Sam, for the music. That'll do it for this week's episodes of the Dollar Bin Bandits. Thank you for listening. Thank you for rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let's get those numbers up, and we'll see you next issue.